Welcome back to our presentation on nutrition for synchronized skating. This is part 3 of the video.
The second principle is to create balanced meals, especially at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And for an athlete, your plate should always be split into thirds. If you are injured or have to reduce your frequency of exercise a little bit, I'll go through at the end how you would manipulate the portions to reflect a reduced amount of exercise. But for the most part, if you're training almost every day, your plate should look like this. So the first third of your plate should always be filled with some veggies. That doesn't include potatoes, sweet potato or corn, because those are much higher carbohydrate vegetables, and so those would actually be contributing to the carbohydrate portion of your plate. But the veggies are there to provide lots of micronutrients, so vitamin C, vitamin A, antioxidants that will help to reduce inflammation in your body and help your body function most optimally so that it can actually get the energy from the food that you're consuming and put it to good use. It will also provide a good amount of fiber, so that will help to keep you full, and again that's going to help to maintain body composition, because if you're consuming lots of fiber, it helps to add bulk to what you're eating, and so it gives you a sense of physical fullness, and so you're less likely to consume or overconsume foods that are higher in energy, so things like sweet treats after dinner, or having a really large portion of the carbohydrate in your meal. And so it just helps to increase that feeling of fullness. The second third of your plate should be filled with the good quality protein that we discussed in that leucine table. And so that could be something like a piece of steak, or a chicken breast, or some white fish, or some salmon, or a couple of eggs. That's going to help to maintain your muscle mass, but also contributes, like the veggies, to that feeling of fullness as well. The last third of your plate should be filled with good quality carbohydrates, and again making sure you choose something that's nutrient dense and not nutrient poor. So things like your higher carbohydrate veggies, so whether it's sweet potato, potato or corn, your bread, cereals and grains, so things like rice or pasta or grainy bread, and your legumes, so things like chickpeas, lentils, kidney beans, can also contribute to the carbohydrate portion of your plate. So these proportions will ensure that you're getting enough of the nutrients that you need to fuel your performance, but also help you maintain your body composition. So as I was saying earlier, if your exercise frequency is reduced due to an injury, for example, then the portions will change a little bit. And so in that case, it would look more like half a plate of veggies, so increasing something that's a bit less energy dense, but that does contain much more fiber to help you feel full. Those antioxidants and vitamins will also help to reduce the inflammation that might be present due to an injury. And then the carbohydrate and protein portion of your plate will reduce from 1/3 to 1/4 each. So half a plate of veggies, 1/4 of a plate of carbohydrate, and 1/4 of a plate of protein. And that just reflects the fact that you're not going to be as active during these times, and so you need a bit less of those energy dense foods so that you can maintain your body composition at the same time. Something I also like to mention with the plate model that I have here is just to make sure that you're getting lots of different varieties of foods from day to day. So with your vegetables, for example, don't just stick to tomatoes and cucumbers every day, or don't just stick to basmati rice every day, because each of your different types of foods are going to contain different types of micronutrients, and each of these micronutrients will have different effects on your body. So for example, bright orange colored foods are going to have lots of vitamin C, and the vitamin C is really good at helping to reduce damage to your cells within your body. Whereas red vegetables like tomatoes are a good source of lycopene, and that is good more so for men's health and maintaining prostate health. So each of your different colors will have different micronutrients associated with them, and so you're going to get a wide range of health benefits from the foods that you're eating. The last principle to mention between maintaining body composition and performance is your mindset. And I've mentioned this a few times already, but you really need to know the difference between the off season, where you're working to improve strength or don't have to be maintaining a very specific body weight to remain competitive or to remain as light and as nimble as possible. Knowing the difference between that and then needing to prepare for an important competition. So one example that I always like to refer back to is the combat sport fighters that I work a lot with. And so during their off season, when they're not competing, they really need to build up as much strength and power as possible, which means they need to eat a little bit more and maybe gain a little bit of weight in order to optimize their performance. And then as they come closer and closer to a competition, they actually compete in weight-based categories. So a lot of the time they might need to lose a little bit of the weight that they've gained in the off season in a healthy way, so making sure they're following all the principles that we've discussed on the previous slides, but they know that it's a short-term goal, and once they compete they go back to eating a more varied diet that's slightly higher in calories. So sometimes we just have to accept that body composition and weight-based sports are just a part of life, and so we need to make sure that when we're trying to lose weight for whatever the goal is, that we're doing it in a healthy way. So the goal should be to become more nimble, or to be faster, or to jump higher, or to make it into your weight category, and not be so much about looking a particular way. Because when the focus becomes about your appearance and aesthetics, that's when a more negative mindset can take place, and it takes the focus off of your performance and making yourself the best possible athlete. So a few principles to follow within this mindset principle. And so the first one is to never completely cut out any foods or food groups. And instead of, let's say, cutting out carbohydrates, reducing them at the right time of the day, as we said, so away from your training session, you can start to reduce your carbohydrate intake, but making sure that pre and post workout, you're consuming plenty of carbohydrates to fuel your training session. You shouldn't make massive cuts to your calorie intake, so you shouldn't be cutting out entire meals, or just cutting out the entire carbohydrate portion of your breakfast, lunch and dinner, or only having diet foods, because a very drastic cut to your calorie intake can have very negative effects on your body. So you will lose weight, but at the same time, you also risk breaking down muscle tissue, reducing your performance, getting down to an unhealthy body fat percentage very quickly, which can then, in women especially, lead to a loss of their menstrual cycle, and a reduction in really important hormones that actually help to keep your metabolism firing and your body working efficiently. So slow and steady reductions in your food intake is always the best way to go about it. So rather than getting 2 weeks out of your competition and thinking, okay, I need to lose 4 kilos, you might plan ahead and think about losing small amounts of weight nice and steadily, so that your performance isn't affected, but you can then jump faster, run jump higher or run faster or whatever it is that you need to do in your sport. Follow the guidelines for the nutrient timing because that means that you're going to be using the right nutrients at the right time. Don't allow yourself to feel hungry for long periods of time to the point where you might become lightheaded or fatigued or start to feel nauseous. So it's okay to feel hungry sometimes. That's your body signaling that you should be getting a meal in within the next 15 to 30 minutes, but you shouldn't allow that feeling to go on for 60 minutes, 2 hours, 3 hours, to the point where you kind of don't feel hungry anymore, because that means that your body has signaled that it needs some food because it's lacking energy and nutrients. So it makes you feel hungry. And if you don't respond to that signal, it starts to look at other ways to provide energy to your body. And so it will do things like break down muscle tissue, which isn't ideal for maintaining your performance. And as I said on the carbohydrate slide, follow the 80-20 rule in the off season. So 80% healthy, whole foods, nutritious foods, and then 20% more fun foods or slightly less nutritious foods in the off season. And when you need to prepare for a competition, maybe moving more so to a 90-10 rule, so 90% more nutritious foods and 10% less nutritious foods.
Now for a quick break in our presentation to tell you a little bit about One Team Movement. One Team Movement is a not-for-profit organization that is working to unite and empower the synchronized skating community in order to grow the sport worldwide. Our pillars are unite, develop, promote, and support. We unite the community and encourage sportsmanship and collaboration. We create opportunities such as camps and shareable online content to help develop the sport at the grassroots level. We work to promote awareness of the sport, and we support the community with grants and giveaways. We hope you're enjoying this presentation and will consider checking out One Team Movement on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter once the presentation is finished. To view part 4 of this presentation, please click the link on the video.